Hey y'all, so I wanted to be kind of real with you. Real estate is hard. The first thing to know is, whether you're thinking about real estate or maybe you never have and you just kind of wonder what it's like for a real estate agent or a realtor, the income is inconsistent. You don't know when and you don't know how much you're going to get paid. As a matter of fact, I went 6 months without a deal very recently, and I'll tell you, that was hard. I've never been 6 months without a deal or without a closing in all the years that I've been doing real estate. Sometimes your compensation can be based on a $50,000 lot or $1 million home. So you don't know when you're getting paid, you don't know how much you're getting paid. And then even if you do have a deal that comes in, anything can happen. The deal could go sideways, it could fall apart. So you just got to be aware of that, and even with me going all that time without any sort of deal or anything like that, I was doing all the things, I was doing all the marketing, which you don't get paid for. I was trying to maintain my professional reputation. Again, maintaining your reputation, again, you don't get paid for. And the business has expenses in and of itself that you have to, you basically have to invest in your business, because I am operating a business. I am essentially a sole proprietor type business here. So that's the first thing to know. The second thing that makes it hard is when you're dealing with sellers. For instance, I'm sitting in my truck right now. I just opened up this house for the third time this week for agents and buyers. This is one of my listings. It's been on the market for about 6 months right now. The market, changed. We really had high hopes when we first listed this house. But yesterday I was here and those people were in and out in 3 minutes, literally 3 minutes. At least this guy today with his agent was here a little bit longer. And I did hear them saying some good things about this property. But there's just, the houses can sit and sometimes they'll expire. And you know what'll happen if they expire? You don't get paid, but you've put money into it with photography, marketing, and all that kind of stuff. The other thing that happens with sellers that is important to know is, you can go for the listing and you don't get it. Actually, recently I've had 2 instances. One that actually came in as a seller lead through another company, and by the time I got to her house, she said to me, "I just signed a listing agreement with somebody 30 minutes ago." So I spent, all that energy doing all the research and everything for her to have signed with somebody else before she even met with me. Another instance that happened was it was referred to me by a friend of mine, and I had been working with this seller for a while, but it was a second property for her. I drove by her house just the other week and saw somebody else's sign in the driveway, and she told me that she chose to work with this person, this other agent, because that agent bought some puppies from her. Well, I'm not an animal. Well, I am an animal person. I'm allergic to animals, so we don't have any animals. So, and even if we did have animals, would I have been in that position in that moment to buy a puppy? Probably not. So, those things happen, and yes, it's part of the business, and yes, I get over it, but it doesn't hurt any less. I've even had instances where they say that they're going to list with me, and then they'll call me up a couple of days later and say, "Look, on second thought, I've decided to list with this other company. They promised me the world." Sometimes those properties sit for a while, and sometimes they sell right away. So anything's possible in the market of real estate, but it's another thing that makes it hard. When it comes to buyers, you're not talking about just matching your schedule with your buyer's schedule. You have to match your schedule with all the listings and all the properties that you're going to go see. If an agent calls you on your listing, like I did today, because I have to be here or my seller has to be here for the listing, which is for me a 40-minute drive. I left the gym, went home, showered, and drove right down here so I could open up the house for this agent and his buyer. So again, I'm working on behalf of my seller here, but if I was representing the buyer, sometimes it's like that. It's matching 4 schedules, not just 2 schedules, things like that. Also with buyers, you could show them properties for days, weeks, months, and they never buy. I have an instance, probably about 2 years ago now, I think it was, where I was showing buyers properties on every weekend, Saturday and Sunday, all day, for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. They were coming into town to see properties that weekend and would go back home to go back to work, things like that. And in the end, after, I don't know, I probably showed them for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or so. Finally, they said, you know what, on second thought, we're not even going to move. So that was time out of life with my husband and my family. It was missed events with family. It was missed dinners, which is pretty common. It was working every weekend in addition to working during the week. You know, it really was, there was no work-life balance there. Now, does that mean that it's always that way? Absolutely not. You know, right now I have much more work-life balance, sometimes a little too much life balance than work balance. But that's, again, you know, maybe because of the market, although I do see it picking up. You know, but that's things that happen with buyers. The other thing that happens is, especially right now with the settlement that transpired last year, is it's still navigating all that. You know, what they told us when they first announced the settlement was one thing. Once it went into practice, it started kind of evolving and adapting into something else. Now the word coming down from the top and the word from the brokerages, you know, we've got to listen to what our broker tells us that they want us to do for best practices. But it's not just that, you know, it's constantly evolving. I mean, the market's constantly evolving. This practice of real estate is constantly evolving. So I'm used to the change. I mean, that's not the problem. But I mean, things are happening so fast with the settlement. New forms are coming out. New forms are being retired. Other forms, new adaptive changes that are happening in regards to the settlement, that it's a constant navigation almost every week, if not every day. And that's really more, as far as the settlement, that's really more just a paperwork thing. So it's really more behind the scenes. My conversations with my customers have essentially always been the same. But it does make me stop to consult with buyers a little bit more in depth. So, and like I said, you know, sometimes with your personal life, it's working nights. You get home from showing property all day. You still have emails to answer. I get about 150 emails a day. Granted, probably about 50% of them are junk, or I don't have to look at them right then and there. But that can happen, you know, but that's just some of the things that we deal with as realtors. I mean, it's hard, you know, and then you have deals, like I said, that are falling apart or they go sideways. I have an instance where, I have buyers who, they wanted a property, the property went under contract, that deal fell apart. So my buyers did end up getting the property after all. But I was out of town, you know, during the first set of showings, and they feel like, you know, they lost it because the colleague that I had helping me out, you know, she didn't have that kind of time to work with them. And granted, I was out of town. So I don't know that would have happened the same way had I been here. But as hard as real estate is, and trying to keep the business going, and trying to make sure that you've got enough savings put aside. I mean, the business has its own expenses, and then of course personally we have our own expenses as well. And you know, but there's a lot of support that's there too. A lot of understanding and support from colleagues, family, and friends. And ultimately for me, as hard as it is and as draining as it can be sometimes, I find that I really take a lot of joy in helping people close out maybe one chapter of their life and starting a new chapter of their life. And in the end, whether it's selling a property or buying a property, I have yet to ever see one of my customers ever be sad. Granted, they could be bittersweet about whatever situation we're dealing with, but most of the time I feel like I serve my customers well. So that's the reward in it all. It's not the money, because it's not consistent. And there's a lot of agents out there who are, you know, single parents, and they're raising teenagers, or, you know, whatever their situation is. Fortunately, I have a husband. His income is kind of inconsistent too, which doesn't help any, but But yeah, real estate's hard. So if you're thinking about a career in real estate, or you don't understand how realtors work, I'm hoping that this sheds a little bit of light for you. It's late nights, it's early mornings, it's weekends, it's canceling one plan for another, it's rearranging schedules, it's trying to match schedules. So a lot goes into it that people just don't understand. And I hope that that you get a little bit of insight into what realtors deal with on a regular basis. Hey, Debbie, thank you. Thank you, Debbie. So anyway, so I hope that enlightens you a little bit maybe, or just understand that as realtors, I mean, we really do work our butts off to try to provide the best customer service for our customers, and to try to make this a true career path for us. And that's really where I'm at. But I was just thinking earlier today, just how hard this is, you know. So, you know, pray for us, just support us, and, you know, encourage us like Debbie has just done, which I so appreciate. But yeah, so I hope that enlightens you a little bit, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye, Debbie.